It is now my honor to introduce our distinguished alumnus, Dr. Matthew Shay, who will present today's commencement address. Matthew serves as a shining example of the power of a Wittenberg education in his life and in his career, and of the legacy tradition at Wittenberg. In preparing for today's ceremony, I learned that Matthew is not the only member of his family to leave a mark on Wittenberg. His two sisters and his brother also graduated from Wittenberg, and their parents were named honorary alumni in 1996. For the Shays, Wittenberg is truly a family affair, and I want to thank them all for continuing to share the Wittenberg story in meaningful and life-changing ways. And I have to tell you, I've really enjoyed watching his young children and family here in the front row, all bundled up in blankets. Please join me now in welcoming Dr. Shay to the podium.
Well, good afternoon. President Joyner, distinguished members of the faculty and administration, families, friends of the graduates, fellow alums, class of 1984 graduates. There you are. That's all you're going to get. It's over now. Thank you for this tremendous honor and this kind invitation to be with you today. Let me begin by first thanking Dr. Joyner and her family for sharing blankets from their home for my children and family. And secondly, I think we should all recognize that in her first year as president of this terrific institution, she has demonstrated incredible leadership and exemplifies the exact kinds of traits that we need to lead Wittenberg into the future. And none of the things she's done this year, I think, demonstrate that leadership and decisiveness more than her courage in deciding that we will hold this ceremony outside in Graduation Hollow today. Well done. And to Fritz and Michael Irmarth, let me say I am truly humbled to share the stage with the two of you. The accomplishments that were described here today, and so many more that we don't have time to describe today, make me truly wonder how I ended up in your class receiving an honorary degree. And as your parents would have said, and my grandparents would have said, "Das ist ausgezeichnet." Thank you for allowing me to share the stage with you today. I'd like to just briefly make a few special introductions. I do have my parents here today, Gretchen and Roger Shay, who sent 4 children to this university. I happen to be the first, class of '84, my brother, class of '85, sister Colleen, class of '86, sister Katie, class of '92. All are here, and I have to say that for my parents it was not only a financial commitment, but I think a religious transformation as well, because here was a graduate of Xavier, a graduate of St. Mary of the Springs, sending their 4 Catholic children to Martin Luther's Wittenberg. It must have been painful, not only financially, but Mom and Dad, thank you for giving us this opportunity. And to my wife Allison and my children, Pearson, Matthew, and Tally, who are somewhat behaved today, thank you for the love and support that you give me every day. And I wish for our 3 children, Pearson, Matthew, and Tally, that Allison and I can give you the experience that I had here at Wittenberg, and you will enjoy the things in your lives that I was able to begin here with my 4 years at Witt. Professor Kaplan, let me just say special thanks to you for your very kind introduction. You know, as an English and political science double major with a law degree to boot, it is a special honor to be introduced by a business professor. Sort of my humanities degree has finally been validated. And I have to also say, I can't tell you how gratifying it is to be introduced and only hear positive things and none of the negative things, and that is so atypical of the way we do things in Washington. So thank you for only focusing on the positive. And Aaron Long and the rest of the class leadership, I was going to say something about questioning your wisdom in choosing me as the commencement speaker, because you have no idea what I might say, and your leadership skills might be challenged by those that hold you in high regard. But after Aaron spoke, I don't think you have to worry about anything I might say. So I feel very good about the rest of my remarks, so this is going to go swimmingly. And to you, most importantly, the class of 2013, thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart. This is, I can't tell you. All these terrific young people out there, and you are going to make our future. And to be able to share a few thoughts with you today is terrific. And I should hasten to add that my other alma maters, Ohio State and Georgetown, for some reason chose President Obama and Greta Van Susteren, and you got me. So I am really very, very happy, and that's why this is such a great honor. And I should say, honestly, it would not be an overstatement, as you saw me there a moment ago, thinking back about my 4 years here, what an honor it is. It would not be an overstatement to say that as I was preparing for these remarks at 3 o'clock in the morning, my freshman year in September of 1980, just as Aaron did, I would never have imagined this was possible. And neither would Richard Scott, who was Dean of Students then, who put me on disciplinary probation for 3 of the first 4 semesters I was here. Basically, half of my college life at Wittenberg, my entire freshman and sophomore years, I was on disciplinary probation. My grades were fine, but extracurricular activities got in the way. And I should say that that is one of the first life lessons that I really truly learned, and that is that sometimes we can accomplish things, sometimes even great things, in spite of our own best efforts to sabotage them, and especially when we get help from other people, and sometimes in the most unlikely places. And Dean Scott gave me a great deal of help and gave me second chances. For that, I am truly grateful as well. And there were many others here that did similar kinds of things. My professors in the English and political science departments, Dick Wheeler in particular, who was the chair of the department and who is not here today, unfortunately, because he's got family graduations to attend at WashU in St. Louis, and I understand and I miss him. And Jerry Hudson, who was my freshman advisor, who was in the political science department, who was teaching us many of the things that Fritz Irmarth was actually doing in Soviet studies during the Reagan administration in the midst of the Cold War. And Jerry Hudson changed my life just as Dick Wheeler did and so many others did. And as we stood up there outside of Resi, beginning to walk down here, Jerry Hudson walked up in his trademark bow tie and his gray hair flying all over the place, just as it was when I was here those years ago, and gave me a big hug. And Jerry, thank you so much for making the effort to be here. You exemplify the kinds of people that are sitting behind me and have done so for so many years that make this a terrific institution and will do again for so many young people in the future over the next generations. But fear not, I did exactly what Aaron did. I did spend a great deal of time preparing for this exactly as I did for the things I did at Wittenberg those many years ago. I stayed up all night long, drinking Mellow Yellow, chewing Copenhagen, playing euchre with the guys in my dorm, thinking about the things that I'd procrastinated about for so long, reflecting on the semester that my parents paid for me to be here, taking fencing, frisbee, and canoeing, and I did do that one semester, and my dad did pay for that. And we did so many other wonderful things here, and I have terrific material, and I won't use it all, although I will say I'm proud of you for being here this morning, and not only for the past 4 years, but the fact that you survived last night and made it here at all. And I will tell on myself because President Kinnison is long gone and his long arm can no longer reach me. And President Joyner is a terrific leader, and I know that the statute of limitations has run on me. But on graduation morning, I was in the cupola on top of Myers, drinking champagne with 4 of my classmates, watching the sunrise, and we made it. And no one ever found out. And my cover is now officially blown. But as I said, the statute has run on that. So when I asked Dick Wheeler why I would make a compelling speaker, he called to share your invitation, and I was honored to get it. And I asked him, what could I possibly say that would be interesting and meaningful to these young people, these future leaders? And what could I share that they'd be able to relate to? I don't feel old enough to have experience. I clearly, as you saw previously, and I'm grateful for the cap, I don't have the gray hair to look as if I have any experience. And I thought, what could I share that would sound wise? And rather than deliver trite platitudes about working hard and never giving up, which are things that I believe in and I think are very, very important in your life, I thought I would just briefly share some other experiences from which I've learned, in the hopes that maybe you'll learn from those experiences better and more quickly than I did. Dr. Kaplan did do tremendous justice to the great opportunity that I have to represent the retail industry, and when he introduced me for my honorary degree. And I won't recount all that, but when Dr. Wheeler called me, and these are my words, not his, the invitation about why I would be an interesting speaker was something like, well, you have Wittenberg values and ideals, and it would be interesting for everyone to hear how you can live in Washington and represent an industry that spends all its time trying to separate consumers from their money and still sleep with yourself at night. Maybe I was a little defensive. Maybe he didn't put it exactly that way, but that's what it sounded like. And I thought, well, I'd be glad to come out and talk about that. And I won't do the commercial, but I will say that I've been in Washington for more than 20 years. I've been representing the business community for more than 25. And like many of you, I was very liberal and progressively minded when I was an undergraduate, and some of my boys are back there and they're remembering exactly how liberal I was in the early 1980s when Ronald Reagan was president, and I was no fan then. But I am a big fan of Winston Churchill, and Churchill once said that a man who at 20 is not a liberal has no heart, and a man who at 40 is not a conservative has no head. And I was very liberal when I was 20. I was more moderate when I was 40. I'm maybe still very moderate. But the industry that I represent is a terrific one, and we create lots of jobs for many people, 42 million people, 1 in 4 Americans in this country, 20% of our nation's GDP. These are Main Street businesses. They're not all big businesses, but there are big ones in this country and in this town and even in this state, and I am fortunate enough to represent many of them as well. And of all the things we do that I'm proud of, one of them is the work we do with young people, particularly with college graduates. Over the course of the past year, we have conferred scholarships on young people and students and given away more than $300,000 in scholarships. We had 600 students at our annual convention earlier this year, young people who are going to make a career out of retail. We recently launched a partnership with the University of Phoenix for non-traditional remote learning, in which we're going to give away 10 scholarships this year and 20 next year, each of which are full ride, valued at $50,000 apiece. That's $500,000 this year, $1 million next year. I am very, very proud of that. It's not something that everyone gets to do when they represent an industry trade group in Washington, and it's something that's deeply meaningful to me and to those that I represent, and I hope that it will have an impact on many young people in the future. But how did I end up fortunate enough to represent this industry? I will just give you several quick examples and tell you first, when I graduated from Wittenberg, my friends were going to Colorado. I thought I would go with them for a year and not continue my real life, and I concluded it wouldn't be fair to my father after 4 years here and people behind me that he had to send to school, that I could take another year and have him subsidize me while I skied in Colorado. And so instead, I went to law school and allowed him to subsidize me for 3 years at Ohio State. And I'm sure Dad wishes that I had just gone to Colorado and gotten out of my system and gotten a job. He's nodding. Thanks. Yeah, it's too late for that now. But I went to law school. I was not committed. I wasn't focused. I spent my first year flying out to Colorado. I spent all my student loan money. I went 4 times to see these guys and ski with them. I finished in the bottom 20% of my class my first year of law school, a place I'd never been anywhere near in grade school, high school, or here at Wittenberg. And I learned life lesson number 1, which is when you make a decision, be committed. and I wasn't committed, and I paid the price. So I basically spent the next 2 years at law school digging myself out of that hole and working my way back up to a more respectable position in my class. Everyone can't be at the top of the class. Of course, we all have to be somewhere, but it was important to me to at least demonstrate progress against that goal. And my grades improved, and I worked hard, and I made it onto the law review, and that effort paid off. And I learned life lesson number 2, which is clean up your own messes. And I tried to clean up the mess that I'd created for myself. While I was in my 3rd year of law school, I took a course called legislative planning, and I worked at the state capitol in Columbus, and I got to do some lobbying and work on legislative issues. And at the end of that experience, the association I worked for, though they knew I'd already accepted a job with a law firm, offered me a full-time position. I loved what I did, and I thought it would be an interesting thing to do. But I'd been in school for 7 years, 4 here and 3 in law school, and I hadn't ever made any money, and the law firm was offering me, I don't know, an enormous amount of money, $50,000 a year or something like that. And the trade association offered me basically less than half, $22,000 a year. And I knew then and there I didn't want to be a lawyer for the rest of my life. There's nothing wrong with it. It's an honorable profession. It just wasn't the thing I wanted to do. And I called the law firm, and I turned down their offer, and I called the association, and I said, I accept. And that's when I learned life lesson number 3, which is happiness truly is more important than money. And a few years later, during the holidays, I was having a conversation around the kitchen table with my late Uncle Werner, who was a lifelong executive for Dow Chemical. He had a fabulous career, worked for 35 years for that company, and he told me some career advice I never forgot. He said, when I make a career choice, whatever industry I choose, I need to find what he described as a political godfather, what we would today call a mentor. It wasn't a word that was much in vogue in the late 80s, but it meant something to us later, and it means something to us now. And I realized that the judge I worked for at that time really was my first mentor. I didn't know what to call him, but now I know he was my mentor. And I went on to have multiple mentors, and have done over the rest of my career, and even at the ripe old age, and we are impressed with you young people, and old people like me, 50, we like you, so you're having an impact. I've had many mentors, and I expect to have many more before I'm done. I'm not finished yet, but there was a McDonald's lobbyist who took me under his wing and helped me find my way to Washington and gave me a great opportunity. There was the CEO of my previous association who stepped aside and told my board of directors that he should retire and they should promote me. There's the chairman and CEO of Macy's, who was the chair of the search committee that hired me at the National Retail Federation. All of those and many more have served as mentors for me, and that taught me life lesson number 4, which is find a mentor. One of those mentors is a very successful entrepreneur, a franchisee from Houston named Doc Cohen. Doc is a terrific businessman. He's got more than 100 individual units. He's got restaurants, Great American Cookie Company, Pretzel Time, yogurt places. He's got 600 people that work for him. He turned a business in which he sells things $2, $3, $4 at a time into a multi-million-dollar business. And one day I was with Doc in Houston, and I was marveling at the things he'd accomplished and then the things I thought he had done alone. I said, Doc, it's really amazing that you built this business all by yourself. And Doc looked at me, and without batting an eyelash, Doc said, Matt, the last thing that I ever did by myself was hire my first employee. Everything else I ever did, I did with other people. And that taught me life lesson number 5, which is no one ever accomplished anything great by themselves. So those 5 life lessons: be committed, clean up your own mess, money isn't everything, find a mentor, no one accomplishes great things by themselves. Those are 5 things from which I learned, and those things have enriched my career and I hope have enriched my life. And there are other things I could tell you and other things that I've learned that I think are important. You should never stop learning. That's why at age 46, with a 1-year-old daughter, I decided I needed to go back and get my MBA. And it was important. Never get outworked. You're going to get outsmarted. Guarantee. Somebody's always going to be smarter. You're going to get outnumbered. You're going to be in business meetings, and there are going to be more people on the other side of that meeting. And the only thing you can ever truly control is how hard you work. No one has more than 24 hours in a day. They have no greater advantage than you do. If you want to work 24 hours a day to get ready for that meeting, to pass that test, to get that job, nobody can take that away from you. Never let anybody outwork you. Build diverse teams. That's something I learned in business school. It's a lesson I probably learned too late. The strength and power of diversity. I will tell you, we had regular competitions, 4-, 5-, 6-person teams in all kinds of the things we did in business school, all the classes you can take, marketing and statistics, finance, accounting, everything. Diverse teams win 9 out of 10 times. You put 5 white guys on a team, we will get beat by the diverse team every single time. It's an important lesson. Build diverse teams, you'll win. Be part of diverse teams, you'll win. That's an important lesson. And I think maybe most important of all is the lesson, give yourself and the people around you permission to make mistakes. Nobody ever learned anything by playing it safe. Nobody ever achieved anything great by not taking risk. Don't take unnecessary risk, don't take irresponsible risk, but if you fail to ever take any risk, if you play everything in your life safe, you're going to miss all kinds of opportunities. I would say you should always take risk, and you should give yourself and the people that you work with and for permission to make mistakes. That's the only way anyone will ever learn and anyone ever gets to grow. So as you commence today, the beginning of the next phase of your lives and your careers and go on to jobs and graduate schools and other kinds of service, I guess your real responsibility is to find a way to honor those people, those that stood up earlier and those that can't be here with us, those that are behind me, those that work in the maintenance department here, everyone here that made these last 4 years for you possible. Your job now is to take what they gave you and find some way to honor the sacrifices they made. Because they made sacrifices. Nobody would be here if somebody didn't make a sacrifice for you. Someone made a commitment that this was important enough for you to do, and they made their lives work to make it possible for you to do this. So you need to go out and show them that you earned this privilege, that you can live up to the sacrifice they made for you. And most importantly, you need to take that light that we talk about here at WIT, that torch, and you need to pass it on to others. That's your job. Make this place better than it was when you found it. That's your challenge. The question is, how will you do it? Well, it ought to come easy for you, right? You guys are millennials. Uh-oh. This is going to get interesting. You know, I thought I'd have a Marco Rubio moment when I reached over for the bottle of water, and instead, it's reaching over for the speech. You're millennials, and it should come easy for you because you're genetically predisposed to be change agents, right? You're narcissistic, you're impatient, you're entitled. That's what they say about you. But most importantly, you're genetically, someone's over there giving it the fist bump. I saw that. There she is. But you're genetically predisposed to be intolerant of the status quo. You're change agents. That's a good thing. That should give all of us old people a lot of comfort that the world's going to get better under your stewardship because you won't be tolerant of the way things are. And so if it's any help, if you want a way to sort of remember this for yourselves, I've always really loved George Bernard Shaw's famous quote that the reasonable man adapts himself to the world and the unreasonable man persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends upon unreasonable men. That's what you guys are. Millennials are by nature unreasonable, right? So this ought to be your mantra going forward. George Bernard Shaw was ahead of his time when he said all progress is brought about by unreasonable men. That's a good thing, and that should give us all a lot of comfort. So you should go out there. You should be unreasonable. You should challenge the status quo. You should change this world for the better. And try to keep in mind that if my other favorite poet, Jimmy Buffett, is right, he's a great writer, listen to his songs. If Jimmy Buffett is right, and the hokey pokey really is what it's all about, then while you're out there being unreasonable and you're challenging the status quo and you're changing the world, then try to remember to have a little fun while you're doing it. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. It has been a terrific honor. I wish you much congratulations, good luck, and go Tigers.